Every year, thousands of retirees flock to Charleston for its coastal charm, warm weather, and gorgeous homes. But what if I told you there's a big mistake that people make when retiring here? And even though it's a simple mistake to avoid, a lot of people don't even think about it until it's too late. I have seen so many retirees do this time and time again. So in today's video, not only am I going to cover the biggest mistake that I see retirees make, but I'm also sharing 7 additional mistakes that you need to look out for. Make sure you stick around until the end, as that's when I'll be sharing the biggest mistake of them all. If we haven't met before, hi, my name is Sarah Newman, and I make videos about what it's like to live here in Charleston, South Carolina. I'm also a real estate agent and team leader of the Elevate team at eXp Realty. So if you are thinking about making a move to Charleston or Summerville, South Carolina, don't hesitate to reach out. All of our information is in the description below, and we would be very honored to help. Now let's get into the mistakes. Mistake number 1 is buying in the wrong community for your lifestyle. The community you choose matters as much as the home itself, and it's a mistake that's costly and painful to fix. I remember a couple I worked with who bought in a 55 plus community in Summerville because they loved the home and the lot. 6 months later, they called me saying, "Sarah, we've decided that we actually don't love this location and we actually don't use the amenities at all. What's more important to us is being closer to the beach." They were paying hundreds of dollars a month in HOA fees for amenities that they literally never used. So we sold their house, and now they happily live 5 minutes away from Isle of Palms. This story has a happy ending, but it did cost them a lot of extra money and headache and stress that could have been avoidable. So I always tell my clients that the pretty clubhouse that you tour for 20 minutes isn't the sole factor of what makes retirement happy. It's whether the community matches your actual lifestyle. I know folks who have moved 3 times within Charleston before finding the right fit. Every community in Charleston has its own personality. Some neighborhoods have strict HOA rules that won't let you park your RV in the driveway, for example, or make the changes you want to your home. You might love your house but feel stuck when you can't add that fence or get the dog breed you've always wanted. The social scene varies too. Some places are quiet and private, while others have happy hours and club meetings every day of the week. A lot of my clients aren't totally sure yet about 55 plus communities and lifestyle. They worry the homes are too close together for what they're used to, or wonder if they will fit in, or think, am I really old enough for that? There's even one community in Summerville called Del Webb Next In that lets you test drive the community and stay there overnight so that you can really get a feel for what it's like to live there. For just $349 total, you can stay in your own model home in the community for 3 nights and 4 days, have dinner with residents, meet with community ambassadors, and use all of the amenities like the pool and the clubhouse and the gym. Plus, they give you a golf cart to drive around. It's the only community in Charleston that does this, and it's brilliant because it really gives you a sense for what it's like to live there. If this sounds of interest to you, please reach out to us and we will help you get that visit coordinated. I'm not exaggerating when I say that we've had dozens of clients do this, and it really helps them get clear one way or the other if they can see themselves living there or in a similar community. For some people, it really seals the deal, while for others, it helps them come to a realization that they do actually want to be in an all ages neighborhood, or that maybe they just want a different location or a different vibe altogether. Either way, you learn and feel more comfortable about your decision, whatever the decision may be. So I think it's a really smart choice. The moral of the story is, no matter where you decide to move and sign the dotted line, make sure you spend time in the community beyond the model homes. Visit the pool on a Saturday, talk to people walking their dogs, and please read those HOA documents during your due diligence period, or better yet, before you go under contract, to make sure there's not something in there that you're uncomfortable with. But that's not all. Even the perfect community can come with surprises that might shock you. Now let's move on to mistake number 2. The second mistake is underestimating flood and insurance costs. Charleston's water views come with hidden costs that can wreck your retirement budget, and they've unfortunately been getting worse every year. People who have lived here for many years have seen a big spike in premiums over recent years, and some carriers have even dropped out of the area or dropped specific homes, or just raised the cost dramatically. If you're getting a mortgage in Charleston, you'll need flood insurance in all flood zones except an X flood zone. Insurance can be up to 75% cheaper there. Sometimes it's not quite as dramatic of a difference. It's very property specific. And just like we'll see with the property maintenance issues later, a little planning ahead saves so much headache down the road. Insurance costs have shot up in recent years across all coastal areas, and many waterfront homes need extra wind and hurricane coverage on top of regular homeowners insurance. Now, here's something most people don't know. Charleston sits on one of the most active earthquake fault lines east of the Mississippi. Yep. Earthquake insurance is actually recommended here. That's another expense many newcomers don't plan for. I always recommend to my clients that before you fall in love with that waterfront property, let's get real insurance estimates. That gorgeous marsh view comes with a price tag, and it's better to know that up front, not just for homeowners and flood, but for wind, hurricane, and earthquake coverage too. Budget for a minimum of 20% higher insurance costs than inland areas, but it can sometimes be double or more, just depending on exactly where you're looking and what kind of coverage you want as far as your actual policy, your deductibles, etc. And this leads to our next big mistake, because insurance isn't the only surprise expense. Some housing choices come with hidden challenges that become more obvious as you age. So mistake number 3 is choosing a 2-story home for a high-maintenance property. Here's a choice that seems fine today until your needs, your lifestyle, or God forbid, some kind of injury say otherwise. Stairs can be the silent retirement killer. I've heard so many stories of retirees who bought gorgeous 2-story homes in Somerville or an elevated home in Mount Pleasant, only to end up living on one floor a few years later. One gentleman loved his marsh views from his upstairs owner's suite, but after any issues, he ended up converting his dining room into a bedroom. That beautiful second floor, it became expensive storage space. It's relatively easy to bounce up those stairs when you're house hunting, but what about at 2 a.m. or when you're carrying heavy groceries or when your back is acting up? Many Charleston coastal homes are raised for flood protection, so you're climbing stairs just to get in the front door and access the main level. Future mobility issues become a big deal as we age, which is why the main bedroom location matters so much. It should really ideally be on the first floor for this next chapter of life. Let me tell you about a silver lining though. Some elevated homes have elevators or spaces designed for adding one later with an existing elevator shaft. This hidden feature in newer coastal homes is a game changer, letting you stay in your home without giving up coastal living. My parents, for example, ended up buying an elevated home with an elevator. When we were house hunting, an elevator was not even on their wish list. This home that they fell in love with just happened to also have an elevator. Recently, my mom unfortunately injured her knee. Luckily, she's okay now, but there were a few weeks there where she couldn't do the stairs. And so she relied on the elevator to help her get up and down between the floors. Without it, she would have been stuck on the main level. So she was really grateful that they happened to buy the house with the elevator in the end. Another thing to think about is outdoor maintenance. Many retirees don't realize how much work it takes to maintain a home in our humid climate. This is where 55+ communities shine. They typically handle yard work and outside maintenance, so you're not out there in the heat pulling weeds or painting trim. Of course, you can always hire people to do this in non-55+ neighborhoods, but it is just something that you'll have to budget for. When shopping for your retirement home in Charleston, think a 1-story ranch home, or at least having the main bedroom on the first floor. Now, even if you find the perfect home layout, your dream retirement can still turn into a nightmare if you make the next mistake on our list. Mistake number 4 is living too far from medical care. Charleston has world-class healthcare, but choosing the wrong location can put it dangerously out of reach when you need it most. I know retirees on Kiowa who eventually sold their homes and moved closer into the mainland. They love the beaches and the peace, but when health issues popped up, that 45-minute drive to MUSC Hospital downtown became a real burden. There is a medical building with emergency and clinical services being built near Kiowa called the MUSC Health Kiowa Kiowa Partners Pavilion, but it's not open yet, and I don't believe opening date has been announced. But the good news is that that is at least coming soon here in the coming years. This is actually one big difference between Charleston's beach communities that I'll explain later. Each has very different access to everyday amenities. So try this. Time how long it takes to get from a neighborhood you're considering to the nearest ER, and then double it for rush hour or tourist season. That's what you might face in a medical emergency. So always map the distance to your doctors before buying. A trip that seems like no big deal during vacation turns tiring when you're doing it twice a month for appointments. I had one acquaintance with a heart condition who realized he was driving nearly 8 hours a month back and forth to his cardiologist. That's a full day of your retirement life every month spent in traffic. On the bright side, Charleston is known for excellent healthcare. I've mentioned MUSC, which is the Medical University of South Carolina. We also have Roper St. Francis and Trident that provide top-notch medical services. MUSC is also building a new hospital in Nexon and Somerville. In fact, many retirees move specifically to Charleston for these medical facilities when they compare it to other cities that they are considering retiring to. Do you want to know a secret? James Island offers both waterfront living and quick medical access. Well, not directly on the ocean because you'll need to get to Folly Beach to do that. James Island has the marsh and river views with much faster access to the downtown hospitals than the barrier islands. While Daniel Island is within 15 minutes to Mount Pleasant's East Cooper Medical Center, and Mount Pleasant itself has 2 hospitals. So no matter where you live in Mount Pleasant, you're likely very close to one or the other. Or if you're in South Mount Pleasant, you can also get downtown. Before we move on to the next mistake, I should warn you, even living close to healthcare won't help if you can't handle what Mother Nature throws at you. And again, if you are finding these tips helpful and are planning on making a move to the Charleston area, my team and I love helping people avoid these types of mistakes and helping you make your transition easy. So don't forget to reach out. All of our info is in the description where you can call, text, email, or just go straight to filling out our discovery form to get started with the free consultation. Next, we have mistake number 5, which is overlooking Charleston's summer climate. Charleston's mild winters attract retirees escaping the north, but summer brings challenges that catch many newcomers off guard. I know so many northern transplants who visit Charleston in April and fell in love with the absolutely amazing spring weather that we have here. And then they went ahead and moved here without experiencing the summers. So then when July rolled around, they were in complete shock. I had clients from Michigan who couldn't believe that their electric bill doubled in the summer, or that going outside at noon felt like walking straight into a steam sauna. The heat and humidity from June through September can be brutal, with the heat index sometimes over 100 degrees. Hurricane season runs from June through November, bringing possible evacuation headaches for coastal properties. Here's a reality check. Try walking around Charleston for 30 minutes in mid-July before making an offer on a home. What feels charming in February can feel awful in August. Really, if you're serious about Charleston, definitely try to plan a trip here in the summer months. Our summers are no joke, and that's when you'll feel the full force of our heat and humidity. But I always tell people that AC was invented for a reason, and thank God for that. Then you can stay inside at peak times to mitigate your heat exposure to the best of your ability. Just know that your outdoor lifestyle may completely shift for 3 to 4 months of the year. Most outdoor activities like walking and pickleball shift to early morning or evenings during summer months, and many retirees adjust their schedules accordingly. And this would not be complete without talking about bugs. Mosquitoes and palmetto bugs, which is our polite southern term for big cockroaches, love our humid conditions. Regular pest control becomes a must rather than an option. Most people do a quarterly treatment, and some of the newer homes even have pest control lines inside the walls of the home to be able to address this concern with a special technology that allows the technician to spray the gas from the exterior of the home straight into the walls, avoiding having to put chemicals inside the home altogether weather. So that is definitely a really neat upgrade that more and more homes here are starting to have. Now, don't get me wrong, our climate is wonderful here for most of the year, which is one of the reasons that I personally love living here. The lesson here is for committing to Charleston, make sure you visit during different seasons, especially summer, to make sure you can comfortably enjoy the lifestyle year round. Now that we've covered the climate challenges, let's talk money, because even if you can handle the heat, your wallet might still be in for a shock. Mistake number 6 is misjudging the cost of living versus your expectations. Charleston's charm comes at a price, and it might be higher than you're anticipating in 2025. We always tell our clients coming from other places that our home prices might shock them, especially in these last few years. The pandemic really changed everything, and the secret is out now about just how incredible Charleston is. So we're having more and more of an influx of people moving to South Carolina overall, and the housing prices definitely reflect that. I know a couple from New York who came here expecting that a $500,000 budget would get them a luxury home in a premium neighborhood. They quickly realized that that budget barely covered a modest home in the area that they were looking in. So Charleston definitely has higher home prices than many expect, especially in certain areas. Mount Pleasant, Daniel Island, James Island, Johns Island, and even larger homes in the Del Webb 55 plus community, for example, can easily top over $800,000. But here's the good news, our taxes are typically much lower. I have clients from New Jersey whose tax bill went from $30,000 per year, which still blows my mind to say that out loud, to under $4,000 a year for a similarly valued home here. Plus, with no tax on Social Security and generous retirement income deductions, the overall financial picture so often works in your favor. These financial considerations all play into the biggest mistake that I'll share at the very end, where I've seen many different retirees make a critical error in their moving process. Property tax rates are among the lowest in the country, especially with the homestead exemption for seniors. Want to know an area that offers great value that has started to get a lot of traction in recent years? Somerville. The median home price there is way lower than in coastal areas, while still offering excellent amenities and a charming downtown area. While Charleston's cost of living is climbing, its tax benefits are substantial, especially for retirees. But before we get to the biggest mistake of all, there's one more critical misunderstanding that trips up many retirees moving to Charleston, which brings us to mistake number 7, assuming that all of Charleston's islands and beaches are the same. Charleston's beach communities are as different as New York and Nashville. Choose the wrong one and you'll feel like a stranger in your own neighborhood. If you're considering retiring at the beach, then this tip is definitely for you. If you visit Folly Beach in February, you may fall in love with its quiet, laid-back charm. Come back in summer and you'll see the season transform the area dramatically with crowds, festivals, and a much livelier vibe. Our beach communities are like different planets. Each Charleston beach and island has its own personality, price point, and community feel. Folly Beach is the most affordable beach community in the area. It has a laid-back, eclectic surf culture vibe. They call it the Edge of America for its authentic character. This area draws a youthful, more bohemian crowd, especially in the summer. Key Island is a private, gated community with a resort component. It's got championship golf courses and world-class amenities with a more active social scene and tourism presence. It's perfect for retirees who want luxury amenities and security. Isle Palms has tourist activity throughout the year, especially because it's home to the Wild Dunes Golf and Beach Resort. Isle Palms offers a mix of permanent residence and vacation properties with a family-friendly atmosphere. It's a good middle ground between exclusivity and accessibility. Sullivan's Island prohibits short-term rentals, creating a more permanent community feel. It's the most exclusive, quiet environment among the beach areas with the highest price point to match. This is the beach community that's best for retirees who want both peace and intimate social opportunities. And harking back to my advice from earlier, before buying in any of Charleston's beach communities, spend a week during peak season, like July, as well as off-season, like January. You'll be amazed at how dramatically the vibe changes, and not to mention the traffic. You need to experience each one in both peak and off-season before deciding. And think about how these seasonal variations will affect your lifestyle. Now, I've saved the most important part for last. All the mistakes so far pale in comparison. Can you guess what it is? The number one mistake is moving without a transition plan. The number one mistake retirees make when moving to Charleston is not about the home they choose, it's about how they make that choice in the first place. So many people rush into purchases after brief visits over holidays or during perfect weather, often selling their homes up north before really researching Charleston neighborhoods. This vacation-style decision-making leads to expensive mistakes and major regret. Here's my golden rule. Never buy a retirement home in Charleston based on less than 7 days of visiting, ideally spread across different seasons. Don't treat your retirement move like you're booking a vacation. I know several families who rented for 6 to 12 months before deciding on what area they wanted to be in. And that way they got to experience all 4 seasons and different neighborhoods. Most of them ended up purchasing in a different area than they initially thought they would at the beginning of their time here. That test period saved them from an expensive mistake. Your retirement happiness deserves more research than a weekend visit to Charleston's prettiest spots. I know coming here to rent for a year is not everybody's cup of tea, and it may not be necessary, but even if you can just come for, let's say, 2 weeks as a starting point, then that's great. Consider booking 1 week in one part of town and the second week in a different part of town to experience that variety. Test different driving routes and spend time in various neighborhoods before committing. And if you're building new construction, research thoroughly and be prepared for potential delays because you just never know. Many of our clients successfully time new construction purchases with selling their current homes. And sometimes things take longer than expected, either here or back home. Things like a home sale contingency can often work in today's current resale market, which gives you more flexibility so that your contract is contingent on you actually selling your home if you are currently moving from another state. And when working with a realtor, choose someone who specializes in retirement locations and truly understands the unique considerations involved, like me and my team. Retirees are one of our specialties, and we can help you navigate the transition process and avoid costly mistakes. To sum up, Charleston offers amazing opportunities for well-prepared retirees. Outstanding healthcare with NUSC ranked #1 in the state, significant tax advantages, diverse communities from affordable to luxury, and unique programs like Del Webb's overnight stays. But a happy retirement requires thorough research, realistic budgeting for coastal living costs, careful community selection based on your lifestyle preferences, and smart transition planning. So once again, if you need any help at all, my team and I would love to be the resource for you. We've helped countless individuals and families make the move. Our information is on the screen and down in the description below. Now that you know the biggest mistakes to avoid when retiring to Charleston, you're probably wondering, well, where should I retire in Charleston? I've got you covered in this video here, where I reveal my top 5 retirement destinations here in Charleston. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.